Here's the scenario. Here's the scenario. We're doing a vacation, and there's 22 people that get to decide where we're going.
And you need to give them 6 choices.
And you need to have them rank these choices. Maybe you have a cheer team. Maybe you're going on a bachelorette trip. You're going on a bachelor trip. You're going on a we don't even have a name for it trip. But there are 22 people that you have to plan for, and you want to make sure you get all of their votes on where are we going to go.
I'm on vacation, vacation. No more work, just play all day. I'm on vacation, vacation. Hooray! Let's get lost, let's stay okay.
Okay, week 9 of 52 bills, and today we are talking about ranked choice voting in none other than Massachusetts. So this bill is in Digital Democracy Project. Go to Massachusetts. There's a local option for ranked choice voting in city and town elections, and I have gotten to learn a whole lot more about ranked choice voting lately. If we go to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts government legislation site, we can look up Bill, it's in their state Senate, 531, an act providing a local option for ranked choice voting in municipal elections. This bill has already gotten off to a pretty good start. There is an accompanied new draft. We see that this was brought up at the beginning of this year. It's been in a hearing and it's now been referred to the Committee on Election Laws. For this bill text, and as we start to get into it, I want to tag the specific concepts of ranked choice voting in. And there are a few really great ways that I've seen this done. I want to make sure that I highlight those for us today as we're talking about why do ranked choice voting. Senate Bill, filed on January 17th, 2025, has an accompanied new draft, the adoption of the accompanied bill. And we can see already that there was a petition for the accompanied bill, which we'll get to. An act providing a local option for ranked choice voting in municipal elections. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives in general court assembled, and by the authority of the same as follows. Section 1, which then includes Section 44A of Chapter 43 of the General Laws as appearing in the 2022 official edition, is hereby amended in line 7 by inserting after the word inclusive following words in Section 103R of Chapter 54. In Section 77 of Chapter 54 of the General Laws as appearing in the 2022 official edition, is hereby amended by striking out the phrase making a cross in the square of the right of the name of each candidate for whom he intends to vote, and inserts in the place thereof the following phrase, marking the ballot in a manner prescribed by the state secretary. Section 3 said Chapter 54, as so appearing, is hereby further amended by inserting after Section 103Q the following. Section 103R, notwithstanding any other general or special law to the contrary in any city or town that accepts this section, a local election may be conducted by using ranked choice voting, in which voters rank the candidates for an office in order of preference. Ranked choice voting elections may be used for elections with a single winning candidate or multiple winning candidates. Ranked choice voting elections shall be tabulated in rounds using single transferable voting method. Winning thresholds shall be calculated based on the number of countable votes and the number of seats to be filled. General provisions for a single winner election and multiple winner elections shall be specified by ordinance or by law, provided, however, that a voter's lower ranked choice shall not impact the likelihood of a voter's higher ranked choice by being elected. The ordinance or bylaw shall be enacted by the municipality's legislative body, and body shall request the input of the registrar of voters, town clerk, or city election commissioners. The ordinance shall specify at a minimum the method of calculating the winning threshold, how candidates with the fewest votes should be eliminated before a subsequent round of the tally, how a vote for eliminated candidates shall be transferred to the voter's next valid choice, how a tie shall be resolved, how a ballot that skipped a ranking or is otherwise mismarked shall be counted, and how a vote above the winning threshold for a candidate shall be transferred to an alternate choice. It's missing. In a multiple winner election, preliminary elections for local offices shall not be held in a city or town that accepted this section. This section may be accepted by approval of a ballot measure submitted to the voters by the governing body of the city or a town at a regular special election, ordinance or bylaw, or a chapter amendment. A city or town that accepts this section shall conduct a voter education and outreach campaign to familiarize voters with ranked choice voting. The ballot shall not interfere with a voter's ability to rank at least one write-in candidate. Not sooner than 4 years after acceptance of this section, a city or town that has accepted this section may return to its prior voting method by approval of a ballot measure submitted to the voters by the governing body of the city or town at a regular special election, ordinance or bylaw, or a chapter amendment. So there are a few things here to definitely call out. One, it's already telling us that it's not a forced decision for any city and town in the state of Massachusetts. It's saying per each city or town in the state of Massachusetts, should they accept this section here on ranked choice voting, then these are the things that need to happen. Preliminary elections are not needed when you use ranked choice voting. So that's why that's listed here. And we'll walk through why. But basically, because you're constantly ranking them, there's a runoff. You've already ranked the next choice. You only have to rank one time. The election only has to be held one time. Here's how a city or town could actually accept this. They either have to go before the voters. So voters have to decide for their city and town, do they want ranked choice voting? Or an ordinance or bylaw must be passed for that city or town, or a charter amendment for that city or town. Cities and towns are governed in various different ways. Those are not national things because we have states' rights and state power, and then within our state we have different governing bodies. This is still allowing cities and towns to decide what works for their city and town. And then if they want to move forward with ranked choice voting, that city or town has to do voter education and outreach to familiarize voters with ranked choice voting. People have to know what ranked choice voting means because it's not just this one or this one. It is ranking your choices, which, surprise, and we'll talk about, you do all of the time for all kinds of surveys and work things and dance competitions. You are very involved with ranked choice voting in your everyday life. You just didn't know it was called that. It won't be that surprising. What might be surprising is where do the votes go later and how do we deal with write-in candidates, which is what this bill is also talking about. Because the ballot should not interfere with a voter's ability to rank at least one write-in candidate. And it's important to have write-in candidates because it's really hard to get on ballots. And oftentimes it depends if you are part of a primary party or you're not part of a primary party. It's really difficult to get on a ballot. So that's where we see serious write-in candidates are being written in because they're not on the ballot to choose from in the first place. That's a whole separate video. Yeah. But we'll get there. We'll get there. We got plenty of time, huh? Okay. Then, and this is really well written. Again, not sooner than 4 years after this section is accepted. So the city or town says, we're doing ranked choice voting. And then they cannot choose to not do it until 4 years have passed. You have to give it time to see if it's working and to make sure that this is working for the city or town. You can't just the very next election be like, never mind, it didn't work. Never mind, it didn't work. That's what they're putting here, which is really pretty cool. And again, if they want to reverse it and get away from that, they have to go through those same exact steps that they did to put it in place. That is democracy led, because the people are getting to decide what they would like for their specific area. Okay, so that's the bill. Let's go take a peek at what the accompanied bill is. Senate accompanied bill 2911, and now we have more information because we did not read this on the other bill. Love my difference checker. Here's this first one. Watch this. Put it in here. A few texts. All right. So in our difference checker, what we see is from the first one, there's 11 removals, and in the second one, there's 104 additions into this bill. And what we were looking at the very, very beginning is, okay, what is being added that's different? And it is being very specific about batch elimination. It's talking about more things that are specific to how does RCV, ranked choice voting, actually work. So instead of just general provisions and tallying up, etc., it's giving us actual terms. And the first one, the following terms shall have the following meanings unless the context clearly requires otherwise. Batch elimination. Batch elimination means the simultaneous defeat of multiple candidates for whom it is mathematically impossible to be elected. The math is not going to math. You can't get elected, you get eliminated. Them's the rules. Concluded ballot. A ballot that does not rank any continuing candidate or contains an overvote at the highest ranked continuing candidate or contains two or more sequential skipped rankings before its highest ranked continuing candidate. What would that look like? Concluded ballot means it can't go anywhere else. It is ranked complete. That's what it looks like. Continuing candidate, a candidate who has neither been defeated nor elected yet. So there's still things to be done there. Elected candidate, a candidate who has obtained sufficient votes to be elected, whether there are additional election rounds before the election has concluded or the election concluded after the vote during which they were elected. Election threshold, the number of votes sufficient for a candidate to be elected in a multi-seat election, which is calculated by dividing the number of votes counting for continuing candidates in the first round by the sum of the number of seats to be elected and one, disregarding any fractions and then adding one. But election threshold means the number of votes you need to win that seat. Concluded ballot means a ballot that can't transfer anymore. Your vote stops counting if you didn't rank anyone left in the race. You voted for two people at the same rank. You skipped too many rankings in a row. Highest ranked continuing candidate, the continuing candidate with the highest ranking on a voter's ballot. So if I rank somebody number one, that's the highest ranking candidate. If I rank somebody number two, that is not the highest ranking candidate. Last place candidate, the candidate with the lowest vote total in a round of ranked choice voting tabulation, or a candidate that is defeated in batch elimination. So you were last place in everybody's votes or for the majority, you're not moving on. Overvote, a circumstance in which a voter ranks more than one candidate at the same ranking. You can't rank two people at first place. The rules don't allow for that. You can only rank one, number one. You can rank the other one number two, but you can't have both being number one. Ranked choice voting. The definition that they are using here in Massachusetts is a method of casting and tabulating ballots in which voters rank candidates for office in order of preference. Ranking, the number assigned on a ballot by a voter to a candidate to express the voter's relative preference for that candidate. Ranking number one shall be the highest ranking. Ranking number two, the next highest ranking, and so on. So 5 is not the highest ranking. If you rank someone 5, it's not giving them 5 stars. It is making them last place if there's 5 candidates. Skipped ranking, a circumstance in which the voter does not use a ranking and ranks a candidate with a subsequent ranking. So if you were to rank somebody number 1, you don't rank anybody number 2, and then you put people at 3 or 4. You've done a skipped ranking. Surplus fraction is a thing, but then the number equal to the difference between an elected candidate's vote total and the election threshold divided by the candidate's vote total. So what would that look like? It's basically where your surplus of additional votes that you don't need because you are already elected, those would transfer down to someone, to your next candidates, and that is how they would rank 2 or 3. If someone wins with more votes than they needed, the extra portion transfers proportionally. Surplus fractions are typically a sticking point for ranked choice voting. So how they're handled, the math on it matters. Notwithstanding any other general or special law to the contrary, a city or town that accepts this section in manner provided in the subsection may conduct a local election using ranked choice voting in which voters rank the candidates for an office in order of preference. Ranked choice voting shall apply to a single seat office only when the number of candidates printed on the ballot exceeds 2, and to a multi-seat office only when the number of candidates printed on the ballot exceeds the number of seats to be elected. So basically, if there's only 2 people, there's no point in ranked choice voting them because there's only 2 to vote on. The number of candidates printed on the ballot exceeds the number of seats to be elected. So if it's if 2 people can sit in the seat and 4 people are running, then it could be a ranked choice voting. If 2 people can sit in the seat and only 2 people are running, it wouldn't need to be a ranked choice voting again because they both actually win in that case. However, if 3 people can be in the seat and 4 people run, that can be ranked choice voting. In any single seat election, each round shall begin by counting the number of votes for each continuing candidate. Each ballot shall count as 1 vote for its highest ranked continuing candidate. Concluded ballots shall not be counted for any continuing candidate. Each round shall proceed sequentially as follows. If there are 2 or fewer continuing candidates, the candidate with the most votes shall be elected and tabulation shall be complete. If there are more than 2 continuing candidates, the last place candidate shall be defeated, or the last place candidate shall be defeated in a batch elimination, and the new round is going to begin. In any multi-seat election, each round shall begin by counting the number of votes for each continuing candidate. Each ballot shall count at its current transfer value for its highest ranked continuing candidate. Concluded ballots shall not count for any continuing candidate. In the first round, only the election threshold shall be calculated. Each round shall proceed sequentially as follows. If the sum of the number of elected candidates and continuing candidates is equal to the number of seats to be filled, then all continuing candidates shall be elected and the tabulation is complete. If at least 1 continuing candidate has greater than or equal to the number of votes than the election threshold, then all such candidates shall be elected. If the number of elected candidates is equal to the number of seats to be filled, then the tabulation shall be complete. Otherwise, each ballot counting for an elected candidate shall be assigned a new transfer value, talked about transfer value, of the ballot by the surplus fraction for the candidate. We talked about surplus fraction, so that's how these come into real-time scenario here. Basically, this is why primaries can be eliminated and why you don't need runoff elections or additional elections, because there's not wasted votes. In this scenario, what we're looking at right here, you've got your first choice, that seat is filled. The next seats need to be filled, and the remaining choices are the ones that fill those. And it's still taking your preference along with everyone else's preference and making sure those distributions are done fairly to get that who's going to be the next one to hit the amount of votes needed to win. It doesn't mean that votes are randomly assigned. Votes are not randomly assigned here. They're still on the ranking. Votes are not split evenly, and votes are not thrown away. That's a really important and a really cool way that Massachusetts has put into writing how they would like to move forward with ranked choice voting. So your backup as a voter, your backup choices matter. Even if the first candidate is the one that you wanted, the next ones, your vote matters there too. But if your first candidate was not the one that won, maybe let's say your first choice didn't win because it wasn't everybody else's first choice, but it was everybody else's second choice. And in that, now your vote power for that first choice is actually going towards them being the next choice that could fill the next seat. Otherwise, the last place candidate shall be defeated, or the last place candidates shall be defeated in a batch elimination, and then the new round shall begin. And again, batch elimination shall apply to the largest possible group of continuing candidates, such that the sum of the votes of the candidates in that group is less than the individual number of votes of every continuing candidate not in the group, and provided that the number of continuing candidates not in the group is at least one more than the remaining number of positions to elect. So that means they are not going to remove someone if there's still more seats that are open. And they are making sure all of the votes counted. That last candidate does not have enough for anything there, and then they are removed. And then the tabulation continues. Ties. We need to know about ties. Ties shall be resolved as follows. If two or more last place candidates are tied and batch elimination applies, each tied candidate to whom batch elimination applies shall be defeated accordingly. If two or more continuing candidates are tied but they are not in last place, the order of said tied continuing candidates shall be determined by the number of votes received by each tied candidate in the prior round. If two or more last place continuing candidates are tied and the batch elimination does not apply, the continuing candidate with the fewest votes in the prior round shall be defeated. If two or more continuing candidates are also tied in the prior round, the continuing candidate with the fewest votes in the next prior round shall be eliminated. If two last place continuing candidates are tied at the end of the first round and the batch elimination does not apply, then the two tied continuing candidates shall have a runoff before the next round. The continuing candidate with fewer votes in the runoff will be defeated, and any remaining rounds in the election will proceed according to this section. This process shall be applied successfully as many times as necessary. A tie shown in any prior round shall be decided by referring to the standing of the candidates in the round immediately preceding the tie. The results of such tie-breaking events must be recorded and reused in the event of a recount. When a skipped ranking or repeat candidate ranking is encountered on a ballot, the vote shall count towards the highest continuing ranking. In the case of an overvote involving two or more continuing candidates, the overvote candidates and all subsequently ranked candidates will be disregarded. If any vote cannot be advanced because no further continuing candidates are ranked on the ballot shall be declared concluded for that contest. So if you skipped, they're actually going to try to help you. The vote shall count towards the highest continuing ranking. As used in Section 4 of Chapter 43A, the order of votes received by candidates in the ranked choice voting election shall mean the order in which candidates are elected. If multiple candidates are elected in the same round, the respective order of elected candidates in that round shall mean the order of votes received by those candidates by the end of the round. Any election conducted using ranked choice voting, the clerk of the city or town shall make best efforts to publish initial unofficial results on election night. getting that information as soon as possible, as soon as they become available. Unofficial results shall be clearly marked as preliminary and subject to revision. That helps people know what is official and what is unofficial at that moment in time. In addition to any other information required by law to be reported with official final results, the clerk of the city or town shall make public the number of percentage of votes that each candidate received in each round of the official tabulation, and any additional information that may be required by the charter, ordinances, or bylaws of the city or town. The clerk of the city or town shall make final anonymized results and data available in both human readable and machine readable formats to allow for independent verification consistent with applicable law. Preliminary elections for local offices shall not be held in a city or town that has accepted this section. We read that earlier. Ballot measure for voters, ordinance / bylaw, or charter amendment, depending on how your city or town is run. Because it could be, you should look up how your city or town is run. Is your city or town run by a bylaw, an ordinance, a charter amendment? This is instructing that for the general laws, ranked choice voting ballots for use in municipal elections shall be prepared according to a format set forth herein and otherwise consistent with state law. So we're putting it in law, in writing, with definitions so that people can know exactly how it's supposed to go. And then they would need to then follow that law to make it work. To the extent possible, a ranked choice voting ballot shall allow voters to rank as many choices as there are candidates printed on the ballot. If the voting equipment is unable to reasonably accommodate a number of rankings on the ballot equal to the number of candidates, the Board of Registrars of Voters of the city or town may limit the number of choices a voter may rank to the maximum number allowed by the voting equipment. So thinking in advance, the voter equipment can only allow 10 candidates and there are 15 who are running. This is where that board of registrars for that city is going to be getting involved. Again, we saw ranked choice voting ballot cannot interfere with the voter's ability to rank at least one write-in candidate. The ballot must indicate the number of seats to be filled for each contest. Love that. That's saying, hey, there are 8 seats, we have 10 candidates. There is 1 seat, we have 5 candidates, to let you know up front. Each election where ranked choice voting is used and the number of candidates exceeds 2, the Board of Registrars of the city or town shall randomly draw lots prior to the printing of ballots so as to determine the order in which the names of candidates shall appear on the ballot. To the name of the candidate for a city or town office who is elected, incumbent thereof, shall be added the words candidate for re-election. So it has to show you that this is the person who's already in that seat and they are also still running for re-election. The ballot must comply with all otherwise applicable provisions of the general laws and the regulations promulgated thereunder. Okay, and then they've just moved these down. This is the same thing we read earlier about it has to be there for 4 years. The clerk of the city or town, subject to approval by the Board of Registrars, may make any changes to the ranked choice voting ballot and tabulation process necessary to ensure the integrity and smooth functioning of the election, provided that ranked choice voting shall still be used and the fewest number of changes are made to achieve such purpose. A city or town that accepts this section shall conduct voter education and outreach to familiarize voters with ranked choice voting. Educational materials shall be made publicly available on the website of the city or town. And you have to remember when something says educational materials, when they're having to do outreach, when they're conducting outreach, when they're conducting education, that means money. That's not for free. Nobody does that for free. So there's probably a fiscal bill we would need to look at to see how much do they propose that this is going to cost, because it's new equipment, it's a new way of voting, and then there's education on how to make that happen. It's not a free thing. The Secretary of the Commonwealth shall provide guidance recommendations, and a model policy to assist cities and towns with developing educational materials and conducting effective voter education and outreach regarding ranked choice voting. The Secretary of Commonwealth shall annually review and update the model policy to reflect best practices. Someone is going to have to be in that job. So again, be thinking, okay, that's happening at the Secretary of Commonwealth's office. Maybe they already have jobs. Maybe they're shifting some jobs. Maybe this would be a new job. This is a new thing. If this is a new way of voting, this would be a new thing that they would need to be covering in education. If any part of this act is declared unconstitutional by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remaining parts shall survive in full force and effect. If a conflict arises between this act and any other provision of the law, the policies and purposes of this act shall govern. If one part of this gets thrown out in court or held up in court, that doesn't mean the whole thing gets held up in court. Maybe they find the surplus fraction unconstitutional, but that doesn't mean the rest of ranked choice voting is unconstitutional. So that would be some examples. Okay, so we've read the bill. Yay! Let's get into the Kialo discussion, why we might want to support this bill. There's a few things, and again, we're going to tag into ranked choice voting in general, but let's look at what these are. The bill promotes democratic education by mandating voter education and outreach campaigns to familiarize people with the new voting process. Maybe we just need that anyway, right? Because in America, we don't have a law in our nation that says you have to vote. And there are definitely no laws in our nation of you have to educate people before they vote. This system could reduce negative campaigning, as candidates may seek to be ranked more favorably even by supporters of other opponents. You need to be ranked one way or the other. So if you are just constantly trash talking your opponent and someone else might not want to vote for you, they might put you further down on the ranking because of the behavior. And so possibly, since there's the likelihood of still being elected, even if you're not someone's first choice, you might change your campaign strategy. I'll link to how the ranked choice voting in Alaska went. It's a really cool video. Ranked choice voting can lead to more representative election outcomes, ensuring that winners have broad support from the electorate. This is because it's not just two people that you have to choose between. And for people in the middle going, I don't really like either one, I have to rank one above the other or just not vote. In this scenario, maybe more people run. Or you can say, this is my first choice, this is my second choice, this is my third choice. And in that way, you can be more aligned with who you actually want to see in office. And then everyone else gets to do that too. When it's tabulated, we see who actually wins. And there are a lot of statistics on how ranked choice voting does provide more representation, because it allows for more people to be seen on a ballot and to be ranked. Because right now, you pick yes or no. You pick true or false. You pick one or the other. In this situation, you are ranking. You are ranking everyone. Sure, you could leave someone blank. There are rules around what happens with that. In these cases, you get to rank more people, and since everyone gets to rank people, you get to find something that maybe works a lot better. And this is that, we talk about polling or surveys. And so if you're having a very large friend or family gathering and you want to find out if people want to have pizza or fish and chips, or maybe they want hamburgers, you would ask people to pick their favorite choice, and then what would be their second favorite and what would be their third favorite. So then you can get the thing that might be best for everyone. What is the cost to doing this? Why would different people say, no, thank you, I don't want to be involved in this? There's a risk that ranked choice voting may lengthen the time needed to count votes and determine winners, especially in tight races. Voter confusion could increase with this more complicated system, potentially leading to a lower turnout due to misunderstanding the new process. Implementing ranked choice voting can be costly and complex for municipalities, requiring updates to voting technology and processes. Having this on the ballot and showing people what does it cost, which that's where we should go next. Is there a fiscal note? This is in the Ways and Means Committee. Ways and Means means money. How does it happen? Where does it go? Let's see if they've got anything under here yet for money. I'm not seeing a fiscal bill yet, but that is something to be thought of is, yeah, if voting technology needs to be updated and voters need to be educated so that way they do turn out, that does cost money. That would be a valid what does this cost reason. I specifically like to push back on this being too complicated because people do ranked choice voting all of the time. Can I show you? You send a note to everybody and you say, we're going to do an all-inclusive vacation. Please tell me if you want to go to an island, a beach, the mountains, city, the lake, or stay in our hometown. Okay? And you need to rank them. Put your first choice in line 1. Put your second choice in line 2. Put your third choice in line 3. Put your fourth choice in line 4. Put your fifth choice in line 5. Sixth choice, line 6. Okay? Send that to me. I'm going to count it up, and then we'll decide where we go on vacation. And this is what you get back. This is what you get back. We've got an island, has 8 votes. The beach had only 6 votes because I wasn't voting in this, I guess. The mountains has 6 votes. Okay, that's a tie. We can only go one place, maybe. The city had 1 vote. The lake had 1 vote. Staying home had 0 votes. Nobody wanted to do that. So then what? Ranked choice voting would eliminate the home choice because nobody voted for it. So it's just off already on round 2. It's out. Okay, let's go to round 3. The lake was eliminated because from the results, the lake was eliminated. The voters supported the lake, had their votes counted for their next choices in round 3. Transferring votes ensures that every vote can be included in the choosing the final winner, even if their favorite candidate didn't win. The tiebreaker, because there was a lake versus city tiebreaker, go back. Home had the fewest votes in round 1. Okay. But yeah, see, lake versus city tiebreaker here. The tiebreaker eliminated lake, but we can still already tell city is going to get eliminated, but it goes in rounds. Unless for batched, that would go in rounds because there was only 2, but the total amount of votes is much higher than that. And also there's only 1 seat to fill. There's no possible way that 1 and 1 would be able to beat 20. So if this was batch elimination, both of these would be gone because there's no way to get there and there's only 1 seat that's open. Now we have where did these go? And these are based on someone's next favorite choice. So when we eliminate lake, that actually went to beach because of what our initial choices were. When we eliminate city, that one, their next choice was island. The person who said lake rated that first and then they rated beach second. The person who said city rated city first, and then they rated island second. So their next choice goes to the next place that they wanted to do. So now we have 9 for island. We have 7 for beach. We have 6 for mountain. 1 seat to fill. Island wins because mountains is then eliminated and those next choices go to those next rounds. So we're going to the island. And this is how ranked choice voting works. And even if you thought from the very beginning island might work, sure, that could have happened. That could have been here. Okay, 8 people said this one, but we don't know for sure because we want to rank people's next choices. It is allowing everyone to say, what else would somebody like to do? And then when we get all the way through the rounds, we're verifying that no, those choices are being put on those next places. And what we saw was, okay, really, 13 people prefer island in some way, not just 8 people, 13 people prefer island in some way. So all 22 people get to see that their voice was heard in one way or another. Let's go to ballot ready, because let's say you're in Massachusetts, meet your representatives. This is a state bill. You could also reach out to your local officials, but this is not a federal bill, so we're not looking for our congressional senators. We are looking for our district representatives. So we would need to know based off of our zip code, and we're saying Boston here, who is our senator that we want to reach out to. That looks like Linda Edwards here for us in Boston. There's a House rep. We could make sure they are aware of the bill too. We could reach out to the governor's office. We could reach out to the auditor's office because they're going to be very involved if voting changes in the state. Get in here, contact Linda. We've got an email address. And here's what we say, we get back to VoteBot. So maybe because this is new, what we actually say is we need our representative to be held responsible for something like this. I want to send my senator a note that I need more data on ranked choice voting. I want to move forward in progress and technology with a better representation, and I want to know that my vote is also counted. How is this being handled? For your city, for your town that you live in, you should look up how is voting conducted. Is ranked choice voting on the ballot yet? Is that something you are voting for in an upcoming election? Is that a way that you are already voting in your city or state? Is that a piece of legislation that is actually stuck in your state Senate or House legislation? And here are some ways VoteBot is being amazing, handling some concerns, giving us some additional approaches for us to be able to get back in and contact our representatives, but also being able to see where there are pilot programs. How do we see that it's a transparent process? We can contact our legislatures. We can spread the word. We can use the Digital Democracy Project to cast your vote on this bill as well. There are a lot of ways to start looking up ranked choice voting and to understand more about how it would impact you. I'm going to be tagging a couple of very creative, visual, and fun ways that I've seen this work. Sometimes it's not even about who wins in democracy, because if the rules are too complex to get involved, if the system is too clogged for anything to change, if there's no way that you get on a ballot anyway, then it can feel like my voice isn't heard here. Why do I want to participate? So being able to reach in and change these systems that govern us is a way forward in democracy. And it does take work, and it does take us looking at what is happening right now in front of us and reimagining it together. And something like ranked choice voting, even if you don't love it, you want to understand how it works and how it might actually better enable our democracy in the United States of America. Because if we constantly are hearing complaints about it's a two-party system, we don't love that. Ranked choice voting gives a way forward that doesn't matter about two parties, because there's way more that can be represented and ranked right in front of you. The lake party, the city party, the beach party. I'm on the beach party. Okay. The island here won because it captured 13 out of 22 votes in the whole grand scheme of everything. There was one seat, 6 choices. 6 choices is so much better than 2 choices. What if the 2 choices had been home and city? See what I'm saying? More representation, more different people who are on a ballot, more options to rank and then choose from, allowing you to get more also. This has been Coffee and Calculated Curiosity. Thank you so much for taking a sip with me, and I'm going to see you in the channel.